So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lorett Matus. I'm going to be the moderator for this session. I'm the Director of HIV Services at Congreso, and I'm happy to introduce our panelists for this session on legal planning. First, I'd like to introduce Ronda Goldfein, who has led the AIDS Law Project of Pennsylvania since 2000. She is listed among the top 100 HIV activists in the United States by Paz Magazine and website, and she was voted a super lawyer in a poll for more than 36,000 Pennsylvania attorneys published jointly by Law and Politics and the Philadelphia Magazine. She is co-founder and vice president of Save House, a public health approach to overdose prevention that seeks to open a supervised injection site here in Philadelphia. Our second panelist is Keith Carter, who is a resident of South Philadelphia and a longtime community activist. He currently serves on the HIV Integrated Planning Council, the Penn CFAR Community Advisory Board, the Elder Initiative at William Way Advisory Council, and the Elders Initiative HIV and Aging Community Advisory Committee. Thank you, panelists, for joining us this afternoon.
Hello, I'm Ronda Goldfein from the AIDS Law Project of Pennsylvania. We are a nonprofit public interest law firm that provides free legal services to people living with HIV or at high risk of acquiring HIV. Among the services we provide to our clients is assistance with planning documents. You know, there are so many things in life that are uncertain, but with planning documents, we can have some control. We can have some control about our healthcare choices, we can have some control about our property, and we can offer some support to our loved ones. Today I want to talk to you about the documents that the AIDS Law Project is willing to provide for you. So the first document is a medical power of attorney. That's a document that allows me to designate someone else to make medical decisions for me. That document takes effect as soon as it's properly executed. Properly executed means you sign it, 2 witnesses sign it, that's it. Your designated healthcare agent, your medical power of attorney, immediately has the authority to make medical decisions for you, to have access to your medical information, and to help you decide what steps may be appropriate for your care. If there should come a time where a person is incompetent, then their medical power of attorney has the ability to make those decisions for the principal. If you execute the document, you're the principal, you name the person, the person who is named is your agent or your power of attorney. The next document that we provide is a living will. This is the document that allows you to decide what your wishes are should you ever fall into what's called a permanent state of unconsciousness. This is end-of-life care. You know, we always talk about that this is not the document that's used if you leave the AIDS Law Project office, walk onto Chestnut Street, God forbid, get hit by a bus, they take you to Jefferson Hospital. They're not going to pull out your living will at that point. The living will only comes into play, again, if the person is in this permanent state of unconsciousness, and no matter what happens, there really isn't going to be a change in the outcome. And that you get the opportunity to say, what are your specific wishes about end-of-life care? And those wishes are personal to all of us, and you get to make the decision that fits you, your belief system. You also get the opportunity to name somebody to make sure your wishes are carried out. Now, in the first document I mentioned, the medical power of attorney, you name someone to make your decisions for you. You say, dear trusted person, dear beloved family member, please make the decisions that you know I would want to make. With the living will, I have already made my decisions. I've already done that really hard work of deciding what my end-of-life care should be, what I want it to look like. And all I'm doing with my living will is asking the person that I've designated, please make sure my wishes are carried out. Please do that last favor, that last point of grace for me. So the living will, we sign it today, but again, it's not considered until I'm in this permanent state of unconsciousness. The next document we do for folks is a financial power of attorney. Now, sounds like the first document, the medical power of attorney, and as you can probably surmise, this concerns financial decisions. What are the decisions that I want made? How do I want my property handled? You know, how do I want somebody to support me to make sure my bills are paid if there should come a time where I'm not able to do those financial transactions? Now, at the AIDS Law Project, we do the financial power of attorney separate from the medical power of attorney. Some places will do them together. We prefer to do them as separate documents. And the reason for that is that we look at the people in our lives and we think that the person who we most trust to make sound medical decisions for us may not be the person who has good financial judgment. I mean, you know, it's hard to find one person who has all those skill sets. So we give a person the opportunity to have some flexibility. Decide in your life who can handle each document, who is most suited to make those decisions for you. Now, the financial power of attorney, because you're giving a lot of authority to another person, has to be notarized. Again, the first two documents, they're signed. Copies are as good as originals, but a financial power of attorney needs to be notarized, and it has to be signed by me, and it has to be signed by the person to whom I've given the authority. So that person, my agent, accepts the authority that I have given them. Another document that we suggest is a financial power of attorney that's not done by us, but rather done at your bank, at your financial institution. We recommend that in many ways that's the better way to go than to have us do the document. So let me be clear. We are happy to do the document, and we recommend that you have those financial power of attorney done, particularly if you have a lot of different investments or property holdings. But if you want to ensure that someone will have quick access to your bank account, be able to pay your rent, pay your mortgage, whatever it may be, it's best to have those documents on file at the bank. Otherwise, should the time come, we would give a copy of the document to your agent would take it to the bank would have their lawyers review it, they would ultimately approve it, but it would take some time before all of that can be done. So we encourage you to have that done at the bank as well as having it done by us. The next document we can offer you is called a Directive as to Remains. It's pretty basic. Gives you an opportunity to state what your wishes are, whether it may be burial, cremation, you know, what your plans are. Many folks have funeral plans already laid out. Gives you an opportunity to identify that there. We recommend that with regard to the medical power of attorney, the living will, and the Directive as to Remains, that they're kept in a place that people can find them, right? These documents are meant to provide some guidance for your loved ones, and if they can't find those documents, then it's hard, obviously, to provide that guidance. The copies of those documents are just as valid as originals. With regard to the financial power of attorney, however, that document, as I said, has an original signature by the principal, an original signature by the agent, it's notarized, and it's witnessed. So you're going to want to make sure that that financial power of attorney, that original document, can be found. Now, you may decide that you want to take that to the bank in advance. Get that on record there. They'll give it back to you while they keep the original. The copy of the document is evidence of your intentions, but it doesn't have the same import, the same authority as the original document. Like a will. So a will is the document that allows you to decide what do you want done with your property? How do you want it divided? Who are what we call the objects of your bounty? And That document is signed, witnessed, and notarized. And only the original has real legal value. A copy of your will is some evidence of your intent, but it can't be freely probated or readily probated the way an original will can be. And so we encourage you to make sure that an original will is kept either with your important documents or at the AIDS Law Project, but someplace where it can be found. Now, in your will, you have an opportunity to say, I want 100% of my property to go to my friend Mary. Or you can say, I want the first X amount of dollars to go to Mary. You can also have the opportunity to list items in particular. You know, if you want your painting to go to Mary, if you want your sculpture to go to Joseph, you can make all those decisions. You can be as detailed as you like, because after all, it's your opportunity to make decisions about your property and where you would like it to go. You also, once you have all of these documents, we encourage folks to redo them. You know, not often, but when there's a change of life circumstances. Maybe that you're in a new relationship. Maybe you're out of a relationship. Maybe the people you named are no longer priorities in your life. Whatever it may be, we encourage folks to look at their documents and refresh them every few years. Even if it's to take a look at them and say, oh yes, these are still my wishes. This is what I want. With regard to your will, you can also do what's called a codicil. And that's an addition to your will. And so sometimes folks think, well, I just want to change one minor gift. I'll just do an addition to my will. That document will still have to be, the codicil, will still have to be signed, witnessed, and notarized, but depending on the complexity of the issues, may be a good way to get that one amendment in there. We've noticed that a lot of people, or some people I'll say, may have some trepidation about executing their documents. They think, oh no, I'm bringing on bad wishes, I'm thinking negatively if I start thinking about my planning for my future. But what we've really heard is that once folks do this, once they take the time, they think about what their wishes are, they think about who are the people who are important to them, they think about where they want their property to go, and they document all of that. They commit all of that to writing, that in fact they feel much better about it, that they have taken care of business. Later in this presentation, I'll be appearing live and take all of your questions. So please think about what I didn't answer, what you'd like to know more about, and I'll be looking forward to talking to you soon. Thanks.
First off, I want to thank Ronda Goldfein and the AIDS Law Project for helping us with this presentation today. I hope you find it very useful. And my name's Keith Carter, and I'm going to give you my own personal story behind why I have these documents, legal documents that I have. And one of the first things you have to do is you have to find a person or persons who are going to be willing to carry out your wishes no matter what. And this is a very, very difficult thing for a lot of people, because you're talking about life and death issues, like maybe taking someone off a ventilator or a monitor or something such as that. So pick someone who doesn't need your money. So, they're doing it for good reasons, because they're a friend, you've known them for a while, they know who you are, and they want to help you at the end of your life, just make sure that everything you want happens. And I happen to have picked a bulldog of a person. She's wonderful. I've known her for like 20 years, and she's like my surrogate mama bear. So with that said, I'm going to start talking about the documents that I currently have in place. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is the living will. And basically what the living will is for me is, it's a gift to my friends and family that they won't have to make the hard choices if I become incapacitated due to a coma or an accident, or maybe I had some kind of brain damage. It's really going to do, they won't have to decide if I need to be on life support or not, because I don't want to be on life support. Do I want to be on a ventilator? And the only thing I would say about a ventilator right now is due to COVID, you might want to talk to a lawyer about, is there any kind of language that you could possibly add into your living will that say, if you have COVID, you go, maybe you'll survive, I'm not really sure, but anyway, what kind of language that you can put in to say that, yes, in the case of like some pandemic, I want to go on a ventilator. So just think of it as a gift to your friends and family that you won't have to, they won't have to make these hard decisions for you. The next document I'm going to talk about is the Durable Healthcare Power of Attorney. Now, basically, that's going to give a person the ability to have the HIPAA release, because HIPAA is very, the HIPAA laws that are in place, they only talk to you, the individual. Well, if I'm incapacitated or I'm not well, you need someone that's going to be able to get information, have information disseminated to them on your behalf. And I think that's very, very important. But when on this document, this is only limited to healthcare, nothing else. Okay. You can, I'm sure you can get another document that you can deal with someone paying your bills, but my power of attorney, she'll be taking care of all that. And the last document I'm going to talk about is something that a lot of people don't like to think about, but when you die, some people want to be in a casket, some people want to be in a crematorium, some people, they want to, they don't know what they want to do. Me personally, I want to be cremated. I don't want a funeral. I don't want a memorial service. I just want to have a party of all my friends gathering, and that's it. So this letter, it's called the Letter of Instruction for Deposition of Remains. Burn me. That's as simple as that. Give my ashes to whoever, sprinkle them wherever you want. I really don't care at that point, but you don't want people fighting over this kind of stuff. It's nonsense, it's little petty stuff. But when it comes to money and family and issues like this, people come out of the woodworks and can cause a lot of problems. So in parting, I would just say the last thing that for me, that I need to do is I need to get a will. And the reason why I need to get a will is my parents recently passed away and they left me an inheritance. And if I don't specifically say who I want that money to go to, it will go back to my brother and his children. Well, that's not such a good idea because we really don't get along that well. We're getting along a little better, but I'd rather donate it to William Way or the PenCFAR or another organization that I belong to, or give it to a friend who's really in desperation. So I'm going to do that as my next legal document. And I hope that helps you in deciding what legal documents that you may need or not need. But if I was a betting man and you're like my age of 58, get it done. So thank you very much and have a great day.
Well, thank you, Keith and Rhonda, for the pre-recorded messages. Now we're going to have both our panelists live. And we have a question, Rhonda, for you. Oh, once I get my chat up again here. Rhonda, I believe this question is from Wahida. You mentioned the AIDS Law Project provides legal services for people living with HIV, and you also said that AIDS Law Project provides legal services for those at high risk for acquiring HIV. Can you please explain further who is considered to be high risk?
Yes, I can. I also, it's nice to see you all. I'm in St. Charles, Missouri, but I didn't want to miss this opportunity to see you all. And I'll say one other thing. I was watching the video of myself thinking, wow, my hair is really messy. But then I see myself now and I'm like, how come I always look like that? No one tells me, but okay, fine. In terms of who we serve, so, the AIDS Law Project has been around since 1988, and our original mission was to provide legal services to people affected by the epidemic. And in 88, we were thinking people affected by the epidemic was, the friends, the family members, the loved ones left behind when a person was living with HIV and needed some assistance. And then as time went by, we started to think, well, maybe people affected by HIV is kind of the world at large, right? We are all affected in some way. We have lost so many wonderful people, so many people we love. Maybe we're all affected by HIV, and maybe that's what we mean in our mission. But recently we have been thinking about who's at risk for HIV and who's really the vulnerable populations. And we wanted to focus our services on these vulnerable populations. And so looking at some guidance from the CDC, from the Philadelphia Health Department, from other sources, who is at greatest risk for acquiring HIV? So as you know, LGBT seniors, non-binary individuals, people who use drugs. And so we have tried to really expand our focus to those areas. We'll see if we do a further reach out beyond that, but that's who we're envisioning now. Kind of related to that, I saw, if I may, Lorett, not to jump ahead, but I saw in the questions, someone was asking about eligibility. And there really isn't any eligibility around age or other conditions. This is really something that we all need, because this is how we document our wishes. This is how we make sure that our wishes will be honored. And I love Keith's thought that it is gift to the family, because that's a perfect way to look at it, because you're taking that hard decisions away from your loved ones and you're saying, I've made the tough calls, and all you have to do is honor it. So a bit of a long answer.
No, perfect length and perfect answer. And so thank you, Rhonda, with that. I also want to confirm in here that the AIDS Law Project does welcome you to come back for whatever you need changes. Like there's no limit of, you can only come 5 times. It's what, as needed. And whether that's to update documents and things like that. And I happen to know that as for a fact, so I can answer that for sure.
So recently, I made some changes to all my documents as well. And person I picked is someone that I've known for 20 years. Has a great medical background, or knows about me, Keith Carter, as a person, who I am and what I want. This person I absolutely trust. She does not need anything from me. She's just a friend who has constantly given me unconditional love and support over the years. So to answer David's question, that's how I picked Mary. And she's just a wonderful human being. And she's like a surrogate mother, almost like surrogate mother, surrogate sister. And it may hurt, but she would do anything for me, and she would follow my wishes to the T. So I'm lucky to have her and other people in my life like that. So I'm blessed. I want to thank the AIDS Law Project, because they're the ones who did my documents on each and every time. So it was Juan, and Juan did a great job. And he's make sure, because he knows a little bit about my family history, that I really don't want that anything to go to my sibling. There's just no way, because his name is Nike, my name wasn't Tina, but he did smash my head in the ground. And why would I want? That's not love, honey. That's not love. So it's going to go to like the AIDS Law Project. It's going to go to William Way, or some of my friends have been really helpful and need a little financial support. So thank you everyone for letting me do this, and trying to help.
Thank you, Keith. Rhonda, would you like to add anything about having this potentially difficult conversation with the people in our lives?
We have seen for some people, it's an opportunity. I'm not suggesting Keith's situation, it's everyone's call, but we've seen it's almost a way to heal relationships. You start having those difficult conversations. We know for some of our populations, their family may have been estranged. They're like, you always want something from me. And now you're saying, no, I just want to talk about what I need. I don't want anything from you. This isn't going to cost you anything. And I think it's a good way to sometimes mend some fences. And I think also, when you're explaining to somebody, I'm not asking you to make the hard choices. I'm just asking you, in a show of love and a show of support, to make sure my wishes are granted. People respond to those conversations.
And I was thinking, like, I don't have a partner right now, and let's say you do have a partner, and you don't have documents in place, your family can step in and maybe prevent your partner of 25, 30 years from even coming to visit you in the hospital or participating or doing anything else. You may have mutual property together where they can step in and cause a lot of problems. These documents help prevent those issues and that drama. And when it comes to money, we know how people can really get crazy. They never talk to you. They really don't care about you, but they want your money.
And that's a good point. We often tell folks, we generally say everyone should have documents. Planning ahead is always a good thing. And if you take a look at your life circumstances and say, my life is such that my biological family doesn't support my life, and you have a friend or a partner, not a legal spouse, that just like he says, they can step into your life. So you really want to make sure that you have taken control. It's your life, your control, your decisions.
And if I may add, even so you have the conversation, it is okay for that person to decline your offer, to have it be okay, because it can be difficult and it is a big responsibility. And let's say there is a situation and this person just doesn't want to get involved at that level, loves you, supports you, will be there, what have you, but just not willing to take that responsibility. Let that be okay for them to say no. Because you really don't want it to be a burden. It's just, you're asking them, I can't do it, can you? And it's okay for them to say no. That'll also help. And they can also change their mind. They can say yes and then think about it and go no, or vice versa. And that's why you can go back to the AIDS Law Project all the time to update as needed, because things do change.
For me, it's always about choice. Everybody has a choice. And you just, that's what you have to offer them.
Yes, definitely choice.
And maybe no means that they know what their limitations are. So you have to respect those boundaries as well. Not everybody's cut out to be a power of attorney. They cause them great stress, and that's what you don't want. So that's why I chose Mary. She's a tough lady, single mom, has been doing it for years and years and years, and went through the transition of her daughter, fully transitioning. So she's a tough lady. So, and she's a bulldog, that's all I can say. I wouldn't mess with her.
Rhonda, we'll move to the next question. It's like a two-parter, I believe, under the financial paperwork there. It looks like it's two different questions. So is there a specific procedure to deal with debts when preparing these documents?
Debts?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
So, putting someone else in charge of your finances will not resolve your debts. It will give them the authority to resolve them as you would resolve them. So negotiate them, pay them off, ignore them. But you don't have to have your debts resolved before you name somebody to make financial decisions on your behalf.
Is there any possibility that they will then be named as now the carryover, it's like, okay, Lorett died, now Keith is now Keith's death because he's now been named my person.
So that's a good point. So a couple of things. First of all, these planning documents, a medical power of attorney, a living will, and a financial power of attorney, they all die with the person, right? I have given the authority to Keith. If I'm no longer alive, there's no more authority, so that ends. If, however, I have named Keith in my will, we very clearly state in all of our wills that the executor is not responsible for the debts of the estate. The executor can use estate funds to pay for the estate debts, but not personally responsible. Kind of a tangential point is that if someone ever asks you to be their financial power of attorney, be clear that you're not signing any documents that you're responsible in your own name, right? So whatever debt you're trying to resolve or financial arrangements that you're entering into, always make it clear that you're doing it on behalf of the principal. You're not doing it in your own name.
Thank you. Second question, along the same lines is, so the financial documents at the bank, does the person you're putting in charge has to go with you, I guess, when you're submitting the paperwork to the bank?
It depends. The document that we use has to be signed and notarized, and it doesn't take full effect until I, as the principal, sign it. And I've named Keith, so Keith is my agent, and he has to sign it. Depends on what the bank is going to ask for. They have different standards, which is why we always say, go to the bank, find out what your bank requires. Some of them may require a medallion signature, which is like a super notary. Some of them may be satisfied with giving you the card, letting you take the card, having your person sign it in front of a super notary, bringing the card back. But I would check with the bank because it varies by institution.
So I myself have a quick question for Rhonda. I'm sorry, guys. I have my bank account and then I have a financial advisor. They're two different accounts. So then are you saying that I would need to go to my bank and give them documentation there as well as to my financial advisor so the person can deal with my financial advisor as well?
I would. If your desire is to have somebody have the authority to transact financial matters from both of those accounts and they are held separately, I would make sure that you've completed the paperwork for both accounts. There's no downside of over documenting, but under documenting can definitely be a problem.
Thank you. Rhonda, to the point that Keith made in the video about possibly with COVID or future pandemics, what have you, about what is there something, I'm sorry, let me just read the question. I was trying is there specific COVID related guidance someone can give around being on a ventilator, such as going on a ventilator for COVID, but not for other health issues?
So in a living will, again, that's the document that establishes the care you want, at the end stage of a person's life, or in this, permanent vegetative state, which is the language of the document. You can decide whether or not you're in that condition in which no matter what they do, it's not going to reverse that condition. You can say, yes, I want to be on a ventilator. No, I don't. But for somebody who is suffering with COVID and the healthcare providers are still saying, look, we can put you on a ventilator now, you can recover, then your living will won't come into effect. That's really not unlike you walk out onto Chestnut Street and you get hit by the bus. They're not going to pull out your living will until your condition has completely been stabilized. And there's a thought that no matter what else we do, we're not going to make a difference. We have seen people with COVID go on ventilators. Thank God they survived. So you don't need to worry that because you say, when there's no hope left, I don't want a ventilator, that will then prevent you from getting the care you need while you're trying to get stabilized.
Thank you, Rhonda. Thank you, Keith. I believe we are at our time. I'm sure there's a million questions that we probably haven't thought of yet. By all means, I believe the link was added to the chat. Please feel free to connect there.
And this isn't a time-sensitive offer. If folks have questions, they should feel free to contact us at the AIDS Law Project. They should feel free to contact us if they want to update their wills or draft wills for the first time. Keith will be keeping an eye out for you when you're ready to draft your document. And I want to encourage you all thank you all for listening to this. I think, being able to take back some control in our life and to make our own decisions, I hope it feels like an empowering activity.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Lorett.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.